studied tornado in history? Well, tornado chasing is very exciting, so there's a lot of TV shows about storm chasing. People come out from all over the world to shoot us, doing our science. This is my translation in Japanese. We have people from all over the world, all over Europe, all over Asia. The Weather Channel has come out in the past and followed us. But it was a handful of years ago that Discovery Channel wanted to do a show called Storm Chasers. And it was kind of nice because they actually funded, when we didn't have funding, they actually funded us for several years to go out with one truck and several pod trucks to go out. This year we were barely on it because we were committed to this big National Science Foundation program. But it involves a lot of equipment. We had about 20 people out with us, shooting cameras. We had maybe 5 cameras in our vehicle, and to make 6 hours of TV show, they shot about 4,000 hours of video. But all of a sudden, it's on Discovery Channel Storm Chasers, and it's kind of fun. You pull up into parking lots, and everyone's like, "Oh, I've seen you on TV," and they all come out. Always draws a crowd, always, wherever you go. So it's kind of fun.
You got like 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. So the show, it's nice because it offered us funding to work a few years that we didn't have funding. But as I said, this past year we weren't barely seen on the show because we were involved in this other experiment. Anyone know what this is? Any guesses?
Slat balls on your windshield.
That's exactly right. These are June bugs. Driving one night, all of a sudden, just like June bug just splatting against the windshield. And I've seen about 200 tornadoes in my 20-some years of chasing, but this is the only picture that I have of myself in front of a tornado. So that's proof that I was actually there and saw one. So at this point, I will entertain questions. Yes?
Wait, what exactly is Doppler radar? Like, I don't really understand it.
Well, Doppler radar, just general radar, shows you where the storm is and how intense it is. Doppler actually shows the motions inside the storm, wind moving toward in a way. And it's called Doppler because back in the 19th century, the first scientist who described it was named Christian Doppler. So whenever you see Doppler in writing, Doppler, it's always capital D because it's actually someone's name. And he demonstrated the principle by having an old or a steam train go by, and he put an orchestra on a flat car. And he had all the people he was demonstrating to on it, and this train went by, and they were playing musical instruments and French horns and so forth, and made all this noise, and people could see the effect of this happening. Yes?
Let me just cut in there for a second, Kristen, hang on. Next year, if you're taking physics, ask Ms. Lochner to tell you the Doppler story. Okay? Because the second year I was here, I was teaching physics. And so I went out into the parking lot to demonstrate the Doppler stuff. So you can always ask me before if you ask your physics teacher. Okay, we got about 4 more minutes, so we've got time for other questions.
All right. Yes?
Okay, so does the brightness on the radar depend on how intense the storm is?
Okay, well there's 2 modes, reflectivity mode, and in reflectivity, they're not showing the motion, they're just showing where the storm is, where the targets are, and how intense it is. So the bright colors, they just assign bright colors to, in normal choice for bright colors like red. Red is the most intense, it's the most dangerous. So the brighter the color is the more intense part. But in Doppler, we assign the brightest colors to the fastest motions. When it's in Doppler mode, because you switch back and forth, you can see reflectivity and then Doppler. So in Doppler mode, we assign the brightest colors to the fastest moving winds because that's what we're most interested in. No more questions. Boy, the last class, they were just like, did you almost die? When were you scared?
What's it feel like being that close to a tornado?
being close to a tornado depends on the tornado. It's always exciting because some years you go out for weeks and maybe see nothing, not a decent tornado. But to get a decent tornado, especially for me, when it's photogenic, it's very exciting. And when you're close to it, you just get a certain thrill. If you didn't do it, if you didn't have that thrill, you probably wouldn't be doing this.
Are you feeling some of the wind though and hearing the noise? Or?
Oh yeah, sometimes people, it's like the freight train. Well, if it's going over you, maybe. To me, it always sounds like Niagara Falls. It's just, you got to be really close to the tornado to hear it, but it sounds like rushing water, just kind of a when you hear the tornado. But it's very exciting to be close to. Yes.
What's the closest you've ever gotten to a tornado?
Well, we've been very close to tornadoes. We've been actually struck by some weak ones, accidentally. I remember one time a tornado was dissipating in rain, and we're sitting there, we just parked, and Dr. Orman said, uh-oh, this could get dicey. And the wind and the rain was coming from this direction, the truck shuddered, and then it just switched as it went right over us. We had an event in 2004 where we were scanning a tornado, just back and forth. Radar wasn't going around, we just go back and forth. There's the tornado, it's going to pass clear of us, but the wind started picking up, so we started scanning all the way around, and we saw another tornado coming at us, and we couldn't get away. I had the truck floored, and the wind was pushing so hard against the truck, we were going 15 miles per hour. And finally, the wind got to be so strong from the side, I turned the truck, just blocked the road, because visibility went to 0, and I blocked it so all the stuff would be in the back to protect us. And we measured at the top of the radar on our truck 150 mile per hour winds. And 10 meters up, we were getting 170 mile per hour winds and 200 miles per hour around us. And it did a big swath of damage. It actually pulled one of the doors off the truck, and it bent all these antennas and so forth. And so it was pretty close. It was very frightening. We've been chased by large, violent tornadoes down country roads before, and it can be pretty scary. Yes.
What's the worst that ever happened to anyone on the show?
The worst thing that ever happened to anyone on the show? Well, I know Reed Timmer, a guy who, does his own thing. Because they had it in the last episode, I didn't see it, but he was trying to roll his window up, and he couldn't get the shield down. He had this plexiglass shield that went over his window, and he was like right at the edge of the tornado, and some debris came and broke the window and hit him in the face. And 2 years ago, we had this long armada of vehicles, and our safety guy, the paramedic, was in the end bringing up the rear. And a tornado formed in town. While we were in town, it was dark, we couldn't see it. We're driving down the road. It was a fast-moving tornado. It was moving 52 miles per hour across the countryside, and it was coming right down the road. Well, the paramedic got caught in it. He stopped at a red light. There was no traffic, but he stopped at the red light, and all of a sudden we're hearing over the radio, "Medic's caught in the tornado!" And a Walmart had a shopping cart, whacked and broke a window, and he pulled up behind a brick building to help protect him. But so he didn't get physically hurt. Our vehicles get pounded all the time, but none of us have been physically hurt in storm chasing. Yes.
Do you ever get tired of storm chasing?
Do you think I'll ever get tired of storm chasing? Every year for the last 10 years I say, this is my last year, I'm going to retire. And, but it was just, you get burned out. When I go out, I may work 6 weeks without a day off. Work 7 days a week, work 12 or 14-hour days building the truck. And then once you're out on the road, you just got to just keep working. And I think 2 years ago, I worked 3 months where I had 2, maybe 3 days off. And you get really burned out. So you get home, it's just like, oh man, I'm never going to do that again. But then you go through winter, and then spring comes, and you just start to feel it, in your blood. It's like, oh, storm season's coming up. And so it's kind of an illness.
Thanks, folks. You guys have been awesome.